This is the Crescent City Connection podcast, bringing you the hottest takes from the 504 to the 225.
With the first pick in the 2019 NBA Draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select Zion Williamson from Duke University.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Crescent City Connection podcast. We have a great show lined up today. Zion is officially a Pelican. We'll talk about that, dig into our other picks in Thursday night's draft, and then talk free agency. Check us out on YouTube, and if you enjoy this show, hit subscribe. It is official. Zion Williamson is a New Orleans Pelican. He is here, and he's here to stay. He's happy to be here. The press conference was great. We want to jump straight into Zion and just talk about how excited we are and how excited he looks to be here. So I'm going to hand it off straight to B-Rad from the boot, and we're going to hear what he has to say.
Man, first thing first, we're all so excited to have Zion officially here in New Orleans. But I think the thing that I'm most impressed with is how excited he is to be here. I could see it in his face. I could see it in his family's face. The guy's ready to get here, and he's ready to get to work. He's going to take over this franchise. He's just going to take it over, and I can't wait till he leads us to something special. It's coming 2019. Be ready.
2019. It's going to be an exciting year for the Pelicans. Let's hear what Bobby has to say.
Man, that dude is so humble. He had no words at first, crying, giving all love to his mom, saying everything that he needed to say. Perfect attitude. I can't wait to see this guy. I'm excited. I think everybody's excited. We threw a party for this guy. We are just ready to welcome him, and I think he's ready to just embrace it all. I can't wait. I'm just excited, just like everybody else.
And I'm kind of glad you said something about his mom, because I feel like being from New Orleans, like everybody's kind of a mama's boy type thing, you know, just being from the South, and Zion's going to obviously fit right into that. So, JJ, what you got to say?
Yeah, I just want to say shout out to the city of New Orleans, throwing that party for Zion. I mean, what better way to introduce a new player to your team than what y'all did? So shout out to the city. I want to say that. And I also want to say, I mean, how humble is this guy? How long did he know he was going to be the number one pick? And to just see his true emotions come out like that, and to show how much sacrifice his mom did for him, giving up her dream to let her son's dream take place. And I mean, them tears of joy, and I went crazy when I heard him say, "Let's dance" at the end. Let's dance, New Orleans. Let's get it.
Yeah, let's go. Another thing that kind of gave me some comfort was when his stepdad spoke at the press conference, and was basically, he said, even before the draft lottery, we thought New Orleans would be a good home for Zion. So that brings me some comfort. It just seems like not only is he all in, but his family is too. And Griffin, yesterday in the press conference, he talked about family so much more than anything almost. It's like that wasn't even on Dell Dempsey's mind, obviously, from past players, what they've said. But it's just, you can feel the atmosphere changing in New Orleans, and the Pelicans are becoming a more, you know, family-oriented team, and family is a big thing with them, and that I feel like that's a good thing for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I really like what David Griffin came out and said after the draft, too. I mean, Zion being number one, all the hype around him. Also, before I say that, how humble is this guy? But to keep going on it, David Griffin says, Jrue Holiday is the leader of this team.
I like that
and
a lot.
Even if he doesn't believe that takes a lot of pressure off Zion first. And second, how much confidence does that give Jrue Holiday?
Right,
Yeah.
Jrue Holiday is already a confident guy, but to hear somebody like that say that about you, that has to make you even more confident. And I feel like you need that in your point guard, because all a point guard is, he's the quarterback of your team when he's on the floor. And one thing about Jrue, we know he plays a little bit of two, but that is our point guard, and at the same time, that is our leader. And he's going to lead, and he leads by example. He's not really a verbal leader, but that guy leads with action, and Zion is going to fall right into place. Next thing you know, we know Zion's going to take over the city. We know Zion's going to be our leader eventually, but it's really important to have a guy like Jrue kind of pave the way for a guy like Zion.
Another thing about Jrue is he's a family-oriented guy. He's a Christian, you know, a follower of Christ, and I feel like that's just going to make it so much easier for Zion to jump into that situation and be able to gel with Jrue, you know.
And like you're saying, we're creating that family environment, and we're bringing in all good character guys. And Drew, Zion, what better character guy than Zion? I mean, but just to touch on what Bradley said, he's saying Drew Holiday is the point guard. First, you're right. He is the leader of the team. He is emotional leader of this team. But analytically, when you dig into his game, his analytics go up when he's at the 2 guard. He could play 1 guard, the point guard at spurts, but analytically, he improves at the 2 guard, and we got Lonzo to run the 1. So we don't need him to be the point guard. We got Lonzo right there to set the offense up.
This is very true. Lonzo at the 1, which solid defensively.
Yeah, that's real solid, but you got to think there's not a problem with having too many good players regardless of their position. You need a good point guard, but you also need a backup point guard to run that offense when your 2s are in the game. And I feel like we haven't really touched on Alfred Payton enough. Alfred Payton is a very, very good bench player.
Local
he
guy.
can start if we need to, but the thing I like about him, he's homegrown. He's from New Orleans. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure he went to Higgins on the West Bank, Higgins High School.
Yeah, I think he's from Gentilly, I want to say.
That could be right. I know for a fact he's from New Orleans. I think he went to Higgins. I'm not 100% sure on that, but he's homegrown. The guy could play, like Josh said. Whenever Drew is on the court, he's the leader. It really doesn't matter if he's at the 1 or if he's at the 2. We know he's a guard. We can call him a combo guard. I'm fine with that.
He's a combo guard.
But at the end of the day, he is our leader. And like I said, he's going to pave the way for Zion to just be that leader for the future for the next 15 years. That's what I'm hoping, at least.
To go off of that a little bit, I honestly feel like Griffin is trying to build a positionless team.
Definitely.
So, I mean, who cares if we call Drew the 1 or the 2?
If you look at all his pickups and even with the draft picks and like everything he's doing right now, he's getting players that could play multiple positions right now.
Right.
We could do all kind of different lineups, versatility. If players go down, you got people to slide right in there and you lose not one step.
Right.
And that makes it very hard to play in to defense.
Defensively, real good
Very
point
hard.
right there. When you got players that are versatile and can play different positions, you can play the switch in defense. You could switch onto anybody, and when you're playing that switch defense, so you don't have to switch off the pick and roll, you switch on there, and it's really hard to beat that defense when you got versatility on defense, and we already talked about offensively.
Yeah, it pretty much takes away the pick and roll game automatically. So that's one thing that makes it a lot harder for teams to beat us when we take away a pick and roll.
Yeah,
so
that
now
is
they got to
true.
run
The Warriors
real
were the
offense.
best switching defense in the league,
Yes.
and that's why they were always one of the best defensive teams.
Yeah, and small ball is in the NBA. I think we all know that.
Very
So
much.
I think Griffin's just trying to continue to build that small ball positionless team that could just run amok in this league for years to come, and that's how it's looking with
And
the way
Griffin,
we're set
we
up.
trust.
And Griffin, we trust for sure. What an amazing night Thursday for all of New Orleans and Griffin and just the whole organization, to trade some picks and move around in the draft a little bit. And obviously Griffin had his eyes set on the center from Texas. JJ, you want to touch on that a little bit?
Well, the draft day trade, I kind of seen it coming. It wasn't much drop off from 4 to 8. You seen it was top heavy to top 3. And so he had a chance to trade the 4 and get multiple more picks. So he did that, trading the 4 pick to Atlanta, getting 8, 17. He swapped 57 for 35, and he got 2 more future second-round picks from the Cavs in a trade that he actually traded to the Hawks when he was the GM of the Cavs. So I like that. And, yeah, he obviously likes centers from Texas because when he was the GM at the Cavs, he drafted Tristan Thompson, and now new GM with the Pelicans. He takes Jackson Hayes, 19-year-old 7-footer out of Texas. He was second in the NCAA in field goal percentage at 73%, and he was also second in the NCAA in shot blocks. So we got a guy that's going to hold down the paint, and then when you give it to him down low, he's going to convert for you. Also, just to touch on him a little bit, he didn't start in high school to his senior year. From junior to senior year, he grew 7 inches. And he also has some athletic family members. His dad was a tight end professional for the NFL, tight end for the Steelers and Chiefs in the 90s. And his mom was a basketball player at Drake. She won Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. So he's got some good genetics.
He's got it in his genes for sure. That's an
Just,
athletic dude.
yeah.
Bobby, you want to touch on that a little bit?
Just to keep touching up on this guy to give y'all a better insight on him. He was second team Big 12 selection Big 12 all defensive team, Big 12 newcomer all team, all freshman Big 12 team. The guy is a glass cleaner up there.
Oh, yeah.
Rebounds, block shots. He's definitely a defensive player. He's definitely a great role player that can grow. He played Zion in an AAU game. He had one offer before that game. He played Zion, 14 offers after that.
Wow,
Showed out in that game. This guy wants the ball and a great role player. Shout out to Griffin for going after another Texas center. I like it.
Yeah, and well, like you said, rebounding, that's one area of his game I'd like to see him improve, but it will improve. Like I said, he grew them 7 inches in 1 year. He's still filling out that frame. So as he gets bigger, his rebounding will improve. He'll be able to box out and own the paint a little bit more. And I did also like Chauncey Billups' comparison of him last night, comparing him to Tyson Chandler, a guy that his whole career beat bigs up and down the court, caught lobs. He was the original Crescent City connection with Chris Paul in New Orleans, and he always protected the paint. Also, when he left New Orleans, he was the starting center on the Mavs and won that championship with the Mavericks. So it's a good comparison. If we drafted Tyson Chandler with that pick, that's a good pick.
Speaking of Chauncey Billups comparisons, though, that was about the only one he had good. Did
I
y'all
agree
hear that last night?
100%. His
Holy
comparisons
crap.
were terrible.
Chauncey had a few too many glasses of Henny last night before he went on air because he was just off the wall with some of his comparisons. It was really funny to watch.
Yeah.
Golden for TV, I'll tell you that much.
Yes, indeed.
So let's jump into our other draft picks from Thursday night. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, solid player. Bobby, why don't you break it down a little bit for us?
Yeah, taking at number 17, of course, from Virginia Tech, my bad. A 6'5" sophomore, 204 pounds, shooting guard. Averaged 16.2 points, 4.1 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.9 steals, so he's a very good two-way player. He shot 47% from the field and 37% from three. He's a catch-and-shoot player. They say he could be a very good two-way player, but needs work. He won't see the floor because of his offensive game. That's what he needs work on. But defense, he's pretty solid. Offense, he can shoot, but he needs more help on dribbling the ball, passing the ball, becoming more versatile as an offensive player for us.
Yeah.
But still a very good bench player to learn. We're young. These guys look like they're ready. What you got, JJ?
Well, our two biggest needs going into the draft were obviously center and then shooters. So like you said, he's shooting 38% from the three-point line. He adds versatility, and we were just talking about versatility. You can play him off the bench at the 1, 2, or 3 spot. He can come off the bench, give you a spark with Josh Hart and Frank Jackson, other guards. He's also ambidextrous. He shoots with his right hand, but he'd rather dribble and finish with the left. And I disagree with you. I think he is a really good offensive player. You can play him. He's really good out of the pick and roll, and he's a good shooter. So, I mean, I think he's a really good value pick at 17. Also, his cousin is a blossoming star over in L.A. with the Clippers right now. His cousin's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So he's also another one of our draft picks that just got athleticism in his family already. And his weakness, he's not super athletic right now. He's not going to really beat you off the dribble with a quick first step. But I think it's a really good value pick, and I think he'll come off the bench as he starts to improve, and he'll be a contributor on this team.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. One thing I really like about him, we all know he went to Virginia Tech. He played under Buzz Williams. Buzz Williams is a very good college coach. He actually just got picked up by Texas A&M. Texas A&M came in, stole him from Virginia Tech, which was a pretty big blockbuster move if you ask me, because he's been a staple at Virginia Tech for the last 5-6 years, maybe even 7 years. But yeah, I really, really like Nikhil, and I feel like he could be a very big part in this blossoming Pelicans offense that is just full of young, talented players.
That's for sure.
And real quick, if you was watching the March Madness tournament, actually Zion and Duke had to get through Virginia Tech in that tournament, and that Virginia Tech team gave Duke a run for their money, and that Virginia Tech team was led by this guy.
Yeah,
So,
and we'll see a little bit of what he can do in summer league. I mean, that's still coming up, something for us to look forward to. I think we have the Knicks July the 5th, I believe it is. So depending on if Zion's going to play, I mean, I'm not sure as far as if he's going to play or not, but summer league should be exciting. I mean, I don't see why we can't win the whole thing.
yeah, I definitely I mean, you definitely want to play Zion some minutes, but I'll definitely also try to limit his exposure. I mean, there's no reason to even risk this guy in meaningless summer league games. I mean, keep him healthy where it counts.
Yeah, keep it
season.
like a Saints preseason game. Let him go
maybe
a quarter or two or
get
something.
in there.
Pull him out.
First quarter,
Let him get his feet wet. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's talk about our 35 pick. Who you had there, Bobby?
Guy from Brazil, Marcos Luzanda Silvia.
Notice I gave that to Bobby because I wanted him to pronounce that name.
I knew that was coming. That's why I took my time.
Hey, for next time, he goes by the nickname DD.
Yeah.
So let's not pronounce that.
I was getting to it, so thanks, Justin. But anyways, this guy is kind of a question mark. We don't know too much about him. He hasn't played too much high basketball. He is long. Let's see, 42.7% from the three-point last season.
That's crazy.
That is out of this world right
Although
now.
I think the FIBA three-point line is a little bit closer
it does have that,
yeah.
but
it's about the same as the college line.
yeah,
so
but it just shows that he is a long-range shooter.
yeah.
He hasn't played much high level, like I said. He was just on the FIBA Brazil team this past year. Before that, he played like a couple minutes here and there, but that's it.
I know Langdon has a knack for scouting international players, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see how this will span out. You know.
Yeah, and
But
when's the
this-
last time we actually had an overseas player that we just stashed out there and just waited for him to develop and bring him back?
I think we have what is it, Bertus or
Bertans?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't on our roster. We didn't stash him. We just went pick him up from
Right.
the league over
Yeah,
there.
that's true.
Like, we never drafted one and, like, stashed him over there for 2-3 years, let him develop, and then bring him up.
right.
Well, the good thing about this guy so far is that he likes contact. He likes to finish at the rim, create and ones, finish above the rim. They say he likes to posterize people. So somebody that likes to drive, create contact, get a three-point play inside and outside. All we gotta do is help develop his other game. He should be a good defensive player with the long arms as well. So, what you got, JJ?
I mean, I really would have liked to get a American like college player that's proven against other talent right here. Like, I was really high on Carson Edwards, but he did go like a few picks before us. And Kyle Guy, I would have loved to take a chance on him. But I mean, who knows? Like you said, he's a question mark. He averaged 12 points a game in only 21 minutes per game. And like you said, he hasn't played against much talent, but he was on the #1 Brazilian team over there and shooting 47% from three, and he's a good versatile defender and athletic. I mean, that's worth the chance. And they have some NBA scouts that actually nickname him the Brazilian Josh Hart. So it looks like we got another Josh Hart on the team. And another analyst actually compared him to Anthony Morrow. That just shows you how much they respect his outside game, because Anthony Morrow was a sniper for a good 8 to 10 years in the NBA.
Yeah.
So overall, I like the pick.
Yeah, and weren't we talking about we traded up 2 second-round picks to grab him at 35?
Well, we swapped our 57 pick with Atlanta to get the 35, and we sent them a future second rounder. But then so you thought he lost that second rounder, but then we had the 39 pick. Griffin went get a second rounder back for that, and then add on another second rounder for trading that 39 pick and some cash considerations for that pick
So
too.
he's continuing to stash draft picks for
continue
the
in
years to
Griffin,
come.
we trust.
You know what headline I like reading right now? The Lakers headlines about how badly Griffin just dismantled their organization with that trade.
I heard somebody
I love
say,
it.
like, if you have any assets right now in the NBA, David Griffin and the Pelicans probably own the rights to them assets.
That's what I like to hear. We've never been so excited about a direction that our general manager is taking the organization, just because our past manager has not really been competent enough to do so. So this is new to us. So we're really excited about it. And so I guess now we want to jump into free agency a little bit.
Just one quick shout out before we leave the draft. Shout out Tremont Waters, the lone LSU basketball player to get drafted. Boston Celtics traded 2 second rounders to move up and take this guy. We all know Kyrie Irving probably won't be there next year. Terry Rozier, also an unrestricted free agent right now. So there's an opening at the starting and backup point guard spots for Tremont Waters to go in there and possibly, get a key role in that team.
The Celtics
So,
got them a
shout
good
out.
one, that's for sure. They really did.
And I mean, another shout out to him because he came back to LSU for a sophomore year, continued to develop his game, and that's why he's getting this opportunity. Unlike, I mean, I don't mean to speak bad about him. I mean, I'm more speaking bad about whoever's advising this kid, Naz Reid. He should have came back to LSU and developed his game for one more year. And I mean, look what happened. He's undrafted.
Yeah, that's a really good point right there. Naz Reid coming out of high school, he's a 5-star guy, and everybody thought that he was going to be a type of guy to come into the NCAA and just take over. And he had moments where he took over and where he showed that he could be a really, really dominant force. But like Josh said, he really did need another year. Yeah. If he would have put one more year under his belt, and plus with all the talent LSU's going to have next year, we could have possibly made a run at the Final Four. And everybody knows that helps. When you produce in March, the NBA scouts notice that because that's when it matters. When you produce in March, you get picked in the draft. And I think Tremont Waters showed that. We all know he's 5'11" on a good day, maybe even standing on a phone book, but it doesn't matter. The guy can play. The guy can play, and he will be a staple in Boston. You heard it here first.
So we want to jump straight into free agency here. We talked last week a little bit about some possible free agents where the Pelicans may be headed. I personally mentioned a little bit about Marc Gasol, and the news came out, I think it was this morning, that if he opts out of his contract, the Pelicans are going to make the moves to go after him. So, I mean, depending on what he does, that could be an option for us. I like it. He's a champion. He brings a veteran vibe to the locker room, another veteran vibe to the locker room. So I think Marc Gasol is a good possibility for us, and I could see him, doing some stuff for us that'll work out to our advantage. So, JJ, who you got for possible free agents?
Oh, just to touch on Marc Gasol real quick. I mean, if we wouldn't have drafted that center with our first pick, with the number 8 pick in the draft, I'd say, yeah, go after Marc Gasol. But I mean, we drafted a center with a top 10 pick. Why go after another center? You got Jahlil Okafor, a good, young, promising center already, 23 years old on a cheap contract. And then you just got Jackson Hayes, 19 years old, on a super cheap contract. I mean, I think they could hold down the center position. Why go spend if Marc Gasol opts out of his $25 million contract, he's not going to take less than $25 million. So if we projected $30 to $34 million in cap space, you go get Marc Gasol, there goes all your money. So why would you spend $25 million on a 34-year-old center? And I mean, it looks like the theme is we're going young. Why go sign a 34-year-old?
I mean, what else do you need in free agency?
A shooter, and I was just about to touch on that. Right now, I want to go get a shooter at all costs. We just went with a big man in the draft, which I liked, even though I personally would have maybe reached a little bit and got Cam Reddish a little bit earlier, but that's done and over with. Now we go get one in free agency. Last episode, I touched on a little bit about J.J. Redick, but I really like what Justin said. Why not go get Danny Green? He just won a championship. That guy can come off the bench, or he can start if you need him to. We need a shooter, and we need to address that right now.
I like the Danny Green one, but I'm going to disagree. Why not go get a center? Go get Brook Lopez on a very cheap thing. Seasoned veteran. Could come show these guys a few things and also try to re-sign Julius Randle.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to get him back with this team. And then maybe sign Brook Lopez because we do have a young center. He is very young from the draft. And Okafor, he's also young too. He's been bad out with the Nets. The Sixers kind of shunned him too. So now you get Brook Lopez to kind of give him a little more tips of being a veteran. He could kind of grow and be a solid center for us, along with the other one that we drafted. Forget his name real quick, Hayes. So now you have 2 future ones that learn from Brook Lopez on a cheap contract for maybe like 2 years.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about that, Bobby, is for the simple fact we just picked up a center in the draft. And if we were planning on picking up a center in free agency, I don't think we waste our 8th pick on Jackson Hayes out of Texas. We picked up Jackson Hayes, so now we go get a shooter. And like I said, there are many shooters out there. I mean, just to name a few, you got J.J. Redick, you got Danny Green. I mean, you last episode talked about D'Angelo Russell. I know he's a point guard, but that guy's a shooter. I mean, they have a lot of shooters out there. Who's a few other ones to think of? Why not? Help me out here, Josh.
I like Bojan Bogdanovic.
Bojan Bogdanovic, that's a real good one.
Yeah, he's
and
probably
another
going to
one,
be making about $12 million per year, and everybody knows if your last name ends with Vich, you're a shooter. Stojakovic. Everyone that ends with Vich is a straight-out lethal shooter.
And then Josh said it last episode, Brogdon.
Love
Go
him.
get Brogdon,
Go get
man.
Brogdon.
I need a shooter, and I need him bad. We picked up Jackson Hayes, and I really think he could be a starting five for us. So I'm not with the idea of wasting a lot of money on a center, especially not Marc Gasol, because he opted out of a $25 million contract, so he isn't going anywhere for anything less than $26, $27 million. And the Brook Lopez idea, let me just be straight up with you guys. I'm not really a big fan of Brook Lopez. I don't think he's the guy for the Pelicans right now because the Pelicans are going in the direction of young players. So why bring in a guy like Brook Lopez, who is on the downcline in his career? So I'm just not with that, me personally.
Another shooting guard that I don't think people really realize is a free agent, Seth Curry. Seth
I
came
do
alive
like
for the
him.
Trailblazers. So
We actually had him, but of course Dell Demps let him go. He was too much of a value to keep, so Dell Demps let him go.
That's really not a bad idea, honestly.
No.
I like Seth. I mean,
So you bring in
obviously
Julius.
he has it in his genes.
You bring in Julius for what, 15 to 18?
I'm all for bringing back Julius.
Then you
Randle.
bring and you got money to sign another shooting guard, another veteran like that.
Julius Randle,
be
like I
looking
said
nice.
last episode, dog, leader. So you got Drew Holiday, Zion, who's already a leader, even though he's young, he's a leader. And you got Julius Randle, another leader. All them young guys, they're going to have no choice but to bring it every night with them guys leading.
I think y'all getting y'all's hopes up with Randall. I think he's gone. You know,
Yeah, I
he's
do
out
think
the
they're going to
door.
give him a contract that we just can't match.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking that
Knicks,
we're going to
that's
have
what I'm
Randall on our lineup next year. But I mean, obviously a good player, did a lot of good things for us last year. So you got to throw his name into that mix.
Just to talk about Bobby, though, with Marc Gasol and Brook Lopez, I mean, they're both, 34 years old? So you sign them for 1 or 2 years. Do you really see the Pelicans winning a championship next year or the next year after that?
No.
I mean, our window is probably 3 to 4 years away. So why not just give the center you just drafted and Jaleel a bunch of minutes so they could develop? Why steal minutes away from them? I mean, it's just going to prolong them from developing.
I agree completely.
The only reason why I say this is because he was bought for $3.8 million for the last season, very cheap.
Yeah, I mean, Lopez is cheap.
You keep him stashed on the bench when guys. He's a rookie. He's not going to be
And
an
I do
all-star.
like how you
so when he
said-
starts messing up, you have somebody there to plug in for a couple minutes, talk to this guy, help him out. Very cheap. We have $32 million. He's not going to hit no cap on
That's
you.
the only reason I'm going to get
That's
one
the
of them.
only reason.
And that's to
That's
be
the
a
reason.
mentor.
Not-
It's nothing.
I don't
mean,
see
Marc
him-
Gasol is
yeah.
better than Brook Lopez. But
Of course.
I really,
One's worth
I'd ride
$25
with the
million.
young
One's
guns.
worth about
Ride
$4
with the young guns.
The young guns we are, the Pelicans, a bunch of young guys.
Speaking of young guns too. All right. After the Anthony Davis trade, every player we brought in, the 6 players we brought in, all 6 of them under 24, and you're adding them 6 players that under 24 to the already 4 players we got on the roster under 24. We got the youngest team in the league. Let's build like that. We don't need no more vets. Drew Holiday's the vet.
That is going to conclude the second episode of the Crescent City Connection podcast. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. Please hit subscribe. Leave us some feedback in the comments. We appreciate it. We always like seeing the comments. You may even get a shout out for the best comment. So go check us out there. We appreciate all our listeners, all our subscribers. Check us out next week. We're going to have another good episode lined up for you guys.
Now the city of New Orleans is so happy to welcome you to the family. I mean, they've been throwing a party basically all day. Is there anything that you'd like to say to your new team and family in New Orleans?
Let's dance. Let's dance.